Hello everybody, welcome to Business and Technology. My name is David. Today we're going to talk about something really interesting. And with the help of ChatGPT, I've been working in Visual Basic to create some macros. My macros run perfectly, and I really want to show you how this works because you don't know how to code, you can still create code that works using natural language. So let me show you how I did it. What I've been doing is creating some macros that automate some slides. So the user just has to press a button and a lot of the visual elements of the slide change. This is really important because the people that actually present this specific presentation do it really often. And yeah, it will be really valuable for them to be able to just do this in a single click instead of having to do it manually every time they have to present this to a customer. I had to create a lot of rules because this was a really complex presentation with a lot of really small and detailed elements. So pretty much what I did was selecting each one of the elements by its size or by its position on the presentation or by the element itself, selecting each one of the names that PowerPoint assigns to them. And then I just created the macros using ChatGPT. So in my experience creating this kind of code, I can tell you that it works. It works as long as you're using the newest model, which is GPT-4. I can tell you that with GPT-4, the code runs way better. It doesn't give you as many errors as the previous version does, but you still have to work a little bit on it. And if you don't know what is going on and you don't know how to read this, you might have some issues. But I found out that learning by doing is actually something that applies here. In my experience, it's really important that you actually separate the chats, because if you were talking about Visual Basic and then you throw it a SQL question or you throw it a question that has nothing to do with whatever you were doing before, it will actually get confused and it will give you some ambiguous results. So it's way better just to separate the chats that you have. And the interesting thing is that even if you don't understand what ChatGPT is giving you, you can just ask it like, hey, what does this code do exactly? Okay, yeah. So let me show you a little bit more or less what I did. First, as I said, just use the newest GPT-4 model. You have to pay, and even though you have to pay, it's currently under capacity of 25 messages every 3 hours because this service is being overused, or maybe it's a marketing tactic, we don't know, but this is what it is. So let's say I want to create a brand new macro. So I can just say, hey, I want to create a macro for PowerPoint in Visual Basic to be able to transform all the text that is on the top of the slides. Target all the slides and on the text to Comic Sans 35. And it will tell me, okay, how to create this code. First, it will just assume that I don't know how to create any macros, and it tells me how to actually use the Visual Basic editor and get it to work in my PowerPoint. And then it will give me the code that I have to implement into my Visual Basic editor. I told ChatGPT that I want this to be on the top of the slides, but I don't know what it means for him top. And I mean, let's say, hey, from where is it going to affect? So it tells me, okay, blah blah. This means that the macro will affect the text located in the top 25% of the slides, starting from the top of the slide. But let's say that 25% is too few. I want it to be a little bit more. So can you please change the code so that the macro is on the top 40% of the slide? And it will throw me the new code. And the only thing I have to do now is just copy this code and paste it into the Visual Basic editor and I just saved 5 years of university and a lot of frustration learning how to code, and I will achieve the same results. And you can tell me, but David, this code is really basic, and there's no way in hell that this is going to just replace programmers. And I can tell you, yeah, for sure, right now the code that this thing throws is not perfect. I can assure you that because I've tried it and I've been running into a lot of errors. But I can tell you that if you have some patience and time, you can for sure throw something that works just using ChatGPT and your own words. Now, I want to ask it to create some SQL queries. First, I want to create a new database called Super Database. Then I want to create some tables in which I have customers. I want to have in this information their phone numbers. I want to put their addresses, and I want to put the orders. And as you can see here, it creates the customers table. It also gives me the code that I need in order to insert all the information. So let's say that I don't understand what any of this means, because I might not. So I can just tell it, okay, can you please explain what this code do? And it tells me exactly what each part of the code does. And if you don't find that this is amazing, I don't know what it is. Because if I ask the very same question to Google, I get into Google and I say, can you please tell me what this code do? It will just give me some random stuff, and then I get here into Stack Overflow, and what is this? Okay, you have an SQL error syntax, and there's like this random guy who has like a -1. But here ChatGPT just very clear, and you can actually create all sorts of stuff just using this. Now let's say I want to create a query. Can you please create a query? I want to know how many users are buying the product code number 0002135 on Mondays from the beginning of the year 2022 to the end of that year. Okay, assuming you have a table called products with a product code, orders, for sure, you're probably going to be really specific with it. And this is another thing that I want to tell you. If you want this to work, you actually have to be very specific with the previous code that you have. If you don't tell it exactly which tables you have, which tables you don't have, how you're managing that, and the previous code, it will probably give you some mistakes because it doesn't really know what's going on. I'm telling you, if you don't think this is the coolest thing that is happening in humanity right now, I don't know what it is. Because this means that the market for programming, it's going to become really open. Now you don't really need to spend years in university or doing online courses or whatever to be able to create macros in Visual Basic, to be able to make queries in SQL. You can actually do it yourself, just paying the $20 that ChatGPT asks for the use of GPT-4. But this is really interesting because these are some basic functions that some years ago you would need a programmer to be able to do, no doubt. Now somebody with no coding skills can do, just paying $20 for the GPT subscription. But it also means that the opportunities to create new things are opening up for a lot of people that wanted to create products, wanted to create businesses, but didn't have the coding experiences to do so. Now all you need is some imagination, some time, and $20 to pay to use the GPT-4 model. It is extremely interesting to me because this means that the future is going to change in a way that we cannot even imagine. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. My name is David, and till the next one.